I never thought I would get a new name for my
your,
my
your
what is
foggy
that?
brain.
My foggy brain.
This was also a surprise to me too, because I've been just thinking it was poor memory, but apparently it's not.
Yeah. Well, there's a new layer. It has a new word. Well, so the importance of language, we talk about this also, right? So the
Hmm.
importance of language. But conceptual dyslexia is a new word for me, which means that all of a sudden it exists. It's such a sort of a interesting moment when you give something a name and it wasn't there before and
Hmm.
now it's there. And like
Yeah.
that's a
And I
thing.
guess and I guess it had been there for me already, but I just because I know that creative people are those that are able to quickly make connections, right? And so I don't know, maybe somebody's trying to solve an engineering problem at work. They come home and see one of their kids' toys and they think, oh, this shape would be really useful for my engineering problem, right? It's just
Yeah.
being able to think in different contexts and making different connections. So, this kind of conceptual fuzziness that he talked about, I just kind of attributed that to being a creative person with slash a slightly foggy memory
Yeah.
in terms of recall, but then the conceptual
Yeah, but
dyslexia,
that's
yeah.
the strength of words because I mean you're right, but then all of a sudden you go and hey, it has a name, and it's not per se it's not a label because it's still vague enough. It's still vague enough not to be a label, but
Hmm.
but it helps to explain things because you have a name for it. So we talked, this is yeah. Anyway, so shall we go and start officially? Shall we go like, hey, you're listening to a podcast?
Podcast.
Yeah.
Yes, we can do the official intro. Yeah, welcome to another. I'll restart that one.
Take two.
Take two. Hey, and welcome to Creative Leaders Unplugged. I'm Morgan here with Arna, and today we talk to Samuel West. He is many things, and we talk about all kinds of things. That
Yeah.
gives you no indication of what this episode will sound like. I
Yeah. Yeah.
apologize.
Yeah. We talk about many things. He's doing many things, and we are interested in many things too. And so that's what that's what this one is about.
Wonderful episode.
Wonderful episode. No, it's amazing. I loved it. His energy, his being able to kind of talk about all these different kind of worlds, sort of, and blend them. And so he runs and owns the Museum of Failure. So check
Hmm.
out museumofailure.com. That that's I mean, and many more things, by the way, but that's just one of the
Yeah.
things. But that it does kind of it's important sort of because he is someone who is very creative,
Hmm.
interested and curious, and but also a doer. He has this.
Yeah,
It's
he
not like
executes.
he
Yeah,
executes, right? And that is
it's
something to
very
be
impressive.
that's impressive. You're like, and he made it. That is,
Yes,
it's
it's a real thing now.
it's a real thing,
It's
and
not just an
so
idea.
yeah, and creating that, we end the podcast with him talking about this perfume with a scent of the odor of failure. Anyway, just doing, that is, doing it, making it, doing it, right, and not just talking about it. Although, for sure, big part of my job is talking because you do that when you teach people, when you coach,
Yeah.
when you do consulting, or when a lot of it is talking. And I'm so jealous of people who also are able to say, yeah, but I have an idea, I've thought, and it's going to be materialized, and it's there. You
Hmm.
can touch it, you can take it with you, or you'll look at it, you'll listen to it. Yeah, this is why I like the podcast as well, because it's a thing, we're creating it, we're going to put it out there,
Yes. Yeah.
right? Yeah, anyway, so I am very energized by
Yes.
this.
Yeah. Me as well. And he really, and one of the, I mean, lots of things were fun and insightful. I always have a whole list of notes, but today's list is bigger. But he talked about how he took a test about uncertainty and how he ended up on like that he has zero problem with uncertainty. And that's been a theme that I've been noticing is coming up a lot in the creative leaders that we're talking to. And so it's really making me reflect also as well on that
Yeah,
and how he moves. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, which is also so the way he talked about it, right? So it's like if you're so comfortable with fuzziness and uncertainty, and it might also be a problem, right? So you're on that scale, a little bit
Hmm.
of like because if you're not looking for patterns or for structure, in that fuzziness, you might not see those, which he does actually, because to me, he's one of those people. He's really, it's basically what we just talked about. He comes up with all these ideas and he likes this uncertainty, but he also can see structure and then build something. So
Hmm.
he does also do that. But if you're so afraid of uncertainty, you're only looking for structure, right?
Yeah.
And everything that kind of you know is a danger to your structure and your process, you're scared of it, so you get a lot of anxiety and all that, and that too is a problem. But the balance between these two, I think, is something we hear from people who are creative leaders and are relative, whatever success means, but are sort of successful in kind of doing what they do, what they love to do.
Hmm.
Those are the people who can balance those things, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
And it
might be
gave,
an insight for the book.
I definitely think it's an insight for the book. And today also gave me, because we talk about like how things are changing so quickly, not just in this episode, which we do, but in many episodes. And the fact that things change so quickly makes me always reflect, okay, what's my value or what's my role going to be? And so we touched upon that, but he also said something. He was like, well, just go start your own thing because then you can never be late to the party, in the sense that if you're doing your own thing anyways, you're going to be the first one doing it. And somehow that was like the click or the connection piece I needed. I go, yeah, why am I thinking, oh, what trend or what thing should I catch up with?
Right. Same.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good way to reflect on that, through this kind of conversation. And the other thing, something, that you noticed, and me too, is that sometimes the kind of the way you're wired, your
Hmm.
brain is, with some people, I have this with some of my friends that our brains align. They're
Yes.
aligned, and that's in a sense of humor. Usually, it's there as well that you laugh at the same things,
Hmm.
but also the way you think. And it's kind of funny that I felt like, because this conceptual dyslexia doesn't work. They were like, because I was like, yeah, I have that too, and but it was clear that that yeah, that somehow there was sort of an alignment in the way we think.
Yes.
Right, it was just fascinating too. I was very much aware. I'm always aware of that with people I connect to. Like
Hmm.
that. But in this case, it was sort of yeah, funny because you thought we knew each other.
Yeah, I jumped into like the pre call, and I thought you guys knew each other already
Yeah, but
based on
no,
how easily you were talking and getting on.
yeah, I
No,
never we
perfect,
never
perfect
met.
strangers. Yeah.
Yeah, funny.
Yeah. No, and I think that's one of the things I really love about the show, and that we get the chance to talk to new cool people, but also they're people who are super easy to talk to and inspiring, and they're doing cool things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Cool. All right.
so yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks for listening. Thanks for
yeah. Thanks for
giving
listening.
us a reason to do a podcast.
Yay. All right. Enjoy.
Yeah, I don't know who I am. I have no idea. So I mean, I'm not trying to play hard or difficult, but it's just it's I think like I think I remember a conversation I had many years ago with when I was still studying clinical psychology, and it was a really good conversation with two good friends, and it turned into like drunken talk about who are you and personality. And then I wasn't even finished with my master's, and I remember saying that because they were like, "Oh, I am this person," and then I remember saying like, personality as a concept is flawed and it doesn't exist. Like you're different personalities and different person in different contexts. And I
Mm.
remember what happened. I completely destroyed that conversation, and the party was over, and I felt bad about it because it's not a fun thing to say. but I have to, but it's still in my mind, like, yeah, who are you? Well, it depends on the context, you know?
Yeah, well, why is that? Why is that? Why did that kill the party? I think it's really interesting, right? Because while having the party, people would, they would act in a certain way. But
Yeah.
one of the things that I've noticed, and I'm now seeing that with my kids, especially my daughter, she just turned 18, and all of a sudden, and I see that with my kids. I do the same. So if she's with her friends, her language changes. She talks completely different when she was with me. When her friends are in our house and we are there too, she is struggling. So funny to see. So she's like, because she has to adapt her language to us and also to her friends,
Absolutely. But
right?
we do this our entire lives. You're not the same person when you're doing some kind of professional networking event as you are when you're half drunk at home. Like, it's not, it's not, you're not the same
Interesting.
Kudos to you if you are.
Yeah.
Depends on the networking event, by the way. I don't
You
know.
can also be drunk at the networking event. Okay, I forgot.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what kind of networking you do, but no, but seriously,
Yeah.
it is interesting because, and actually, I want to add something maybe to that, and you might know way more about this than I do. I literally today I was thinking about this because I was reading this book, Being You, it's called, and it's about new science of consciousness, and I just finished it, and it just it's way too complicated for me, by the way. I don't understand most of it because it's way too complicated, but the effects of what the science does to you, in your life, in your behavior, that does really make sense. And one of the things is that, he talks about, consciousness and are you actually conscious and what is that exactly? But also that every cell in your body kind of is alive and it works and it changes continuously. But also that over the course of your life, every cell in your body is new, is different, and it changes. And I was thinking that not only contextual, changes your behavior, or who you feel you are, but also I feel like I lived like different lives almost. Like when I was a teenager, when I was a kid, although you feel like there's a continuum, but it's not a continuum in a way. It's actually these are actually real different persons,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, totally. Totally. And there's
This-
actually, oh, sorry, no.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say that your taste buds change every 7 years. So, so every 7 years, I'm trying the foods I don't like. Somehow I still don't like them, but there's hope.
Yeah, there should be something.
Something. And well, if you've been in the Netherlands now for 8 years, you're ripe to start liking some of the Dutch food, right?
Nobody's ever ready for that. No.
I was just thinking when you were talking about being like this continuum not being a continuum. There's a leadership professor called, I think her name is Ibarra, like big shot. And one of her thing about professional leadership development is that we often think like, oh, we're going to like if we're going to improve yourself, like as a leader or whatever, but context, it's like, okay, now I have a list of who I am today. Here's a list of who I want to be, and then I have to make rational choices to become whatever the improvement is in that wish future or self. And she's like, that's actually impossible. It's so difficult to change your behavior and your personality. It's impossible. So her suggestion and her research suggests that you should skip that. You should just pretend to be somebody else.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, I totally believe in that.
you just put like, today I'm going to be more assertive. I'm going to be more direct. I'm going to be more of an asshole, right? This is my
Yeah,
personality today. And then instead of thinking how, just pretend. And
I
the
believe that
environment will react to that and you'll get immediate feedback.
totally.
And you can decide, is this a good thing or is it a bad thing?
Oh, totally. I mean, isn't this why we wear a suit when, in certain situations where you get like a new job or you feel like you feel more serious? So for me, my wife will, if she hears this, she'll laugh, but because I have these different personas really because I grew up wanting to be an artist, photographer, musician. I have different sets of clothes. I wear other, I dress like I think, which makes me feel like a photographer, for instance,
Absolutely.
or an artist. I need different things for this. It's like it's acting, but to your point, I mean, I think you become who you think you are.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's cool.
So
And so I'm curious, like the different personas you're currently have in your closet, Samuel.
So I just moved to Spain a year and a half ago,
Okay. Where were you before?
in southern Sweden.
Okay.
Well, I was actually in Stockholm a year, and then before then, southern Sweden. But the yeah, so the one persona is I've left my former life. I'm now living in a Spanish tiny little village in the mountains with goats and you know this non a complete change from my former life. And that's one persona. And then the hectic get shit done other personas is still there, but I like try to separate it. So that it's those two that are right now trying to like the one that's sort of American, gotta do things, gotta performance, gotta make some money, all that stuff, right? Gotta perform better, got that whole hustle sort of mentality,
Mhm.
which I thought I'd left. It's still there.
Oh no.
now you're shouting at the goats.
Yeah, you stupid goats.
Yes, Timothy, get out of my way. I have stuff
Be
to
more
do.
efficient. Yeah.
Be more efficient, you goat.
All you do all day is goat. Like
Yeah,
do something else. Pretend
exactly.
to be someone else, you know?
Yeah, just pretend. Yeah, be chicken. Uh, I
Have you lived or sorry, go ahead, Arna.
no, go ahead.
I was going to ask if you've lived abroad before.
I'm half Icelandic and half American. And my wife is Swedish, Finnish, and I think I've lost track of how many countries I've lived in. So it's as a child, but
Sure.
my
Yeah.
father was in the oil fields. We moved every year someplace,
Mm.
and then that's kind of continued the legacy of my DNA.
Yeah.
So
Nomadic. Yeah.
so yeah, I'm hoping that this goat village life will keep me here for a while.
Huh.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know you that well, but I,
But maybe you should stay with the goats.
but isn't it so, talking about, how we are different personas or different people over time or within context. One thing that, I think is very true is that, you are kind of also, you grow into a person that is highly influenced by the things that you went through. So your parents or the way you grew up with traveling around a lot does do something for, I mean, it creates the person that you are now as well. So there's that as a maybe some kind of continuum also there. So is there something that you are conscious about your personality now and how you do things and how whether your work or the way you kind of live your life, that you can connect to your childhood? You're like, yeah, besides the goats.
I think so. One thing is definitely this sort of. So I did a test a year ago. A friend of mine launched a new program to help corporate people feel less anxiety about uncertainty. There's a whole program to help people that have a problem handling uncertainty to in a world that's so uncertain and chaotic and your job changes every year, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
It's a big problem. And I was like, I want to like this program. So I did the test he had designed on like how difficult you find uncertainty. And the test was like, if 100 was you need this program because you suffer from uncertainty, anxiety, mine was at a 0. So it was almost pathological, like you're too comfortable with uncertainty. And so, I mean, it wasn't part of the program or anything, but I thought about it. Like when I did the test, I was like, okay, this is this is, I don't know if the healthy part, it's not good to be anxious about uncertainty. Absolutely. But there is a evolutionary sort of mechanism that makes us afraid of uncertainty, and there's a reason for that. And I don't really have that. So I think, or it's very low at least, and that might be something from always moving around or something. That uncertainty and novelty is something from positive.
That's fascinating. And when you're in a very certain situation, do you get uncomfortable or you start to itch after a few days? Like,
But if it's, I mean, I'm getting older now, so it's getting easier. But when I was younger, it was more difficult.
okay.
Now I can be more chill about it. But the predictability kind of equals being bored
Okay. Yeah.
and needing stimulation, intellectual, whatever, artistic, any kind of creative stimulation is important, is super important for me. So being in non-stimulating environments is a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah.
And did you realize that when you, I mean, when you were growing up, was there a moment when you started thinking, ah, yeah, I need this stimulation, or this is why, or was there, did you have those moments where because as a child,
Yeah.
often you don't understand why you feel or experience things in a certain way, but have you been always
Yeah.
aware of this, or?
I mean, our society is attention deficit society, and we live in a ADHD world. So,
You were fine.
I'm fine.
You're like, no.
I'm like, what? What? Distractions? Are they a problem? So I mean,
Exactly.
in another context or another world, yeah, that would be a problem. But in our society, that's something that's almost seen as something positive. So
Yeah, but if you
um,
go through school, for instance, at school,
yeah, yeah,
you probably,
yeah,
there was no issues there.
yeah, of course.
I'm asking rhetorical questions, I think.
Yeah, no. I do want. I mean, the classic of being understimulated and then you get into trouble.
Yeah,
That was my problem. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you were bored easily, and school can be
I
very
remember
boring.
once I did. I just remember now when you mentioned that. This must have been. I just moved to California. I must have been like 10 or something, 11, and the school in California had in the bathrooms they had the soap dispenser.
Mhm.
It wasn't soap, it was dry powder, like a
Mm.
soap powder, like almost you would use as a washing detergent for
Yeah.
clothes. Yeah. And I don't know, I didn't think about it, I just did it. I didn't think about it. But I thought, oh, this is so stupid. Like and it doesn't work. And so I took some and I put it in a small bag, plastic
Yeah.
bag. And then the next class was woodworking sort of class with a lot of space, and the teacher wasn't around. And then something and that bag fell out, and somebody, what do you have there? It looks like a bag of cocaine. I was like 11 years old,
A bag of cocaine
and
at 11
and
years
then and I didn't think of it as I was like, oh, and then I'm like, yeah, is it a problem? Like, and then they're like, oh, is it Coke? And I'm like, yeah, it's Coke. Why would I otherwise walk around with a bag of something like this? And then everybody's like, all the cool kids were like, oh, it's Coke. And then they're like, do a line, do a line. And I just watched Miami Vice. So I knew that if you're a cop in Miami, when you do a line of Coke, like if you would do the line of Coke according to Miami Vice, you would get all high and it wouldn't be good as a cop, right? So what you do is you do the line, but instead of inhaling, you forcefully exhale. So you basically blow all the cocaine onto the floor, right? But it looks like you're inhaling it. So I did that. I made a line of Coke on the bench, and
Soap
all the
Coke. Yeah.
cool guys were there. Me, the nerd, and I'm like, yeah. I did the line, massive line of Coke, and then I knew that you're supposed to do like this afterwards. Ah, ah. And it was so much fun. Of course, I got in trouble, got sent to the principal and everything, and had my Coke with me, and they were going to call the cops. And I'm like, it's soap. Like it's so. I still got in trouble for it and everything, but
So this is where you
That's
pretended to
so
be
funny.
a drug addict, and
yeah. So this
one of
is
the one of the
this is
personas.
exploring other personalities. Me as
Yeah,
a coke addict. Yeah,
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 yeah.
exactly.
You were such a quick 11-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I would
Oh,
have been in that situation and been like, okay, well, I actually have to snort it now because I wouldn't have caught up that you can just blow it onto the
Gotta
floor.
watch Miami Vice.
yeah. I don't know if
That's the missing piece. Yeah.
it's interesting. What do you? Yeah, the things you know, or yeah. So with my kids, for instance, my son is 13, and actually he probably knows, but sometimes you kind of like, what does he actually know?
Yeah, he knows
But
more than you think.
I know that's yeah. So maybe I just don't want to know what he knows. So because yeah, nowadays, there's so many ways to get anything you're curious about, anything or not even curious
Yeah,
about, you
yeah,
get it anyway,
Yeah.
right? So it's so much going on when when we were, I mean, kids, I mean, actually before social media, I guess the world looked very different.
very
So
different.
that has changed dramatically. How are you? So when you were a kid, what kind of school did you do? Where and where did you go? Because now you were in the US,
Yeah, it was just usually it was like diplomatic schools because
right?
they're set up so that the kids that go there they move all the time. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it wasn't usually it was like so it wasn't really a strange. It was everyone was used to having new kids, and this was not always. It was sometimes local schools, but for the ones I remember are the sort of I don't know if you would call them diplomat schools, but something like that where
Yeah, international schools. So
Int-
yeah, yeah, for
yeah.
expat.
So is that because I know someone who went through a childhood like that as well, and one of the things she said was that having sort of friends was, it's different than
Yeah,
when you have a childhood and you're just in
yeah.
town in one school and you. So have you experienced friendship then?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when I hear people who, oh, this is my friend from, yeah, we've known each other since we were 10. I was
Yeah,
like, my brain can't compute that. So
exactly.
on the
Yeah.
other hand, what I've seen now that I'm 50, I see that because one of the advantages of that sort of flexible, sort of somewhat extrovert sort of approach is that I see that many of the people I know who are, 40, 50, whatever, they find it extremely difficult to make new friends.
Mm.
Whereas I make new friends anywhere I go, like not easy, but relatively easy.
Huh?
And I see that even people who are stationary geographically, they have a very, very small group of friends that for all kinds of reasons get smaller as they get older.
Yeah.
And the skills or the motivation or interest in making new friends is not there.
Mhm.
And people are lonely because of it. So I think that's one advantage of being like seeing things as fluid rather than stationary.
Yeah, it's interesting. It makes me think about my parents, something that I'm kind of afraid of myself. So because my father, for instance, he has no friends anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I know he's
That's the
86 and
norm. That's the standard. That's the norm. Yeah,
yeah, he's 86 and he doesn't have
yeah,
friends. There used to be some friends and there used to be some colleagues
yeah,
but slow, yeah, exactly to
yeah.
where you were saying, that
The
circle gets
world
smaller,
gets
smaller.
your own world gets smaller and
Yeah,
smaller. Mhm.
yeah, and now
Yeah.
he just has sort of a family.
Yeah.
I mean, which yeah, exactly. So, but loneliness is wow. Yeah, that's not a really nice way to end your
That's not,
life,
yeah, no, not at all. Not at all.
right? Yeah, interesting how that's a
I,
different. I didn't never thought about that, but so
no, it's
that's
definitely an
actually
important aspect.
And I
I thought of, oh, sorry. No.
I was just going to say because a lot of the people in my immediate surroundings are international as well. And I went to a
Yeah.
birthday party a few weeks ago, and we were asking, oh, okay, well, how do you know the birthday person?
Yeah.
And like, oh yeah, well, we met in the parking lot at the beach. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But everyone kind of had a story like this.
Yeah.
And then of course, the more you talk to each other, the more you realize like we've all kind of been international. So we
Yeah.
have to learn
You have
that
to
skill. Yeah.
meet that person at 7-Eleven, you know? Like that in the line at the post office, that's a situation you can meet people that might be important to your life and
Yeah,
important friends. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
I thought of something. I just took some notes here earlier. You said that you had dyslexia, right?
Yeah.
Arne. So I thought of one thing I've been playing with, or one thing I've been told. Sorry, I should be honest. One thing I've been accused of is that I have conceptual dyslexia. So I'm not dyslexic when it comes to words or numbers, but I mix together concepts. I have no, just like for dyslexia, for the standard dyslexia, the words are sort of, yeah, the difficult to decipher. But for me, I absorb concepts in the various across domains, right? But I forget where they come from and I mix them together. So for me, a lot of the creativity, I mean, there's a lot of negative things about this as well. As a researcher, that's not good to have this
Ah.
conceptual dyslexia. But when it comes to creative projects, the conceptual dyslexia is quite good. Because like, yeah, no, that concept and that concept. Yeah, no, they're basically the same thing when they have nothing in common, and then create something new out of that or see the parallels. So I thought that's kind of interesting
It is.
to see dyslexia as, not to glorify it or celebrate it in any way, but sometimes it's good to be a bit confused.
I totally recognize what you're saying. I think I have exactly what you're just described.
Oh, let's write a book. No, wait, we can't. Okay.
Yeah, we can nowadays. I mean, there's technology. Just ask ChatGPT.
I just
Write a
said,
book
write a
about this
book.
thing. Yeah. No, but no, it's interesting that you said so. So I grew up with, so I knew I had dyslexia when I was like already at primary school. They did a test and they said, oh, yes, dyslexia. I have been doubting now the last few years that, if they, because I actually was thinking I should do that test again because I have dyslexia. I know that, and my daughter also, but I know people with dyslexia who have a much harder time writing and reading. I mean, I have a little bit of a problem with it, but it's okay. I know I have it. But it's not a huge problem.
No.
But what you're describing is exactly what I have. I didn't have a word for it, so thank you very much.
But
Which is
and for someone who doesn't have this, because I watched a small little like video on dyslexia, and they kind of showed how the words can jump around on the
Yeah.
page, or the
Yeah.
words
sure.
look like they should
Yeah.
make sense, but they don't. So it
No.
kind of gave me a very shallow but clear insight in, oh, okay, people with dyslexia may experience reading like this.
Oh,
But what does conceptual dyslexia look like, feel
Yeah,
like?
just like dyslexia, dyslexia it's an umbrella term
Yeah.
for a lot of different sort of phenomena, right? But the conceptual dyslexia, as far as I see it, it's both just because I can understand a concept, right? So I get it, and I can read an entire book about some concept, right?
Mhm.
I'm like, wow, this is good shit. I really love it, right? And then next week, I can't, it's gone, right? But it's still there in new forms. So, so, uh, so I can't hang out with, super serious researchers too much because they get frustrated at me and like, but what's your reference for that? I'm like, I don't know.
Exactly. I have the same, but because I will read one. So something else that happens to me is that I will read a book, and that one book I'm reading, that's sort of everything I agree with, and everything I say is going to be I'm going to be referencing that book, but then I'm going to start to read another book, and I'm like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah, I
and
know. Wow, this is good stuff.
yeah, that's good stuff. So I'll keep referring to that book, and I forgot about the other book.
Totally.
I know it's there
Totally.
somewhere, but I don't know. So it's
We
actually
should start an association for conceptual dyslexia.
I'm right.
This
wait.
is
I'm gonna look at the
And
URL.
it's not inclusive. It's exclusive.
It's very exclusive. I'm looking up the URL right now. Conceptual
and
dyslexia.
how is this different than like poor memory? Because I just always thought it was my ability to
Oh,
incorrectly
oh.
recall things.
Oh, see, having poor memory is just the beginning. Like it's a necessary prerequisite to having. But having poor memory, it's an important feature, but it's not enough because you have to mix things together. You have to like not only have poor memory, but to have a concept of A mixed with the concept of B, you have to have an understanding of both. At least think you have an understanding of both, and then feel free to mix those together.
Yeah, you
And confuse
blend.
them entirely.
Yeah, totally.
Okay,
Because
okay.
you kind of because so and Morgan, we talk about this being in this space in between,
Yeah.
sort of this idea. So to me, the way I've felt and have seen it, and this is why I became really interested in design thinking when it was still new and more about the way of thinking, because it was described to me as sort of being in this in between space. So do you have all these expertises in these bubbles? And I am always a trespasser. I always go like, oh, this is interesting. This is like, oh, qualitative research. I want to know more about that. And qualitative researchers will tell me, you had know nothing about qualitative research, and I go like, oh, this is like behavioral science. That's really interesting. And behavioral scientists will say, Arne, you have no idea. You don't belong.
You're
You're not a
stupid. Stay away.
Stay away from us. And I like, but I like it. And then I will go like, oh, I'm going to connect that bubble to that bubble.
Yeah.
And it's often also with people. I do that with people too. I go like, well, that person and that person, and I'm just going to see what happens when I bring these people together. I think that's being a designer on this meta level, sort of. You go like, I design by putting this. And to be honest, so this whole podcast is about creative leadership. This is basically what we would call creative leadership, in the sense that you see different concepts and you can blend them together, where everybody else, they don't see it. They didn't see it until you show them. You go like, what? But if I put this together, look what happens. And I think there's so it's not just, I'm not sure if it's about dyslexia, but I think people with some kind of
Fluid
problem.
mental paradigms. Yeah.
Fluid mental paradigms. I like that. Yes, very much.
No, I like the pathological. I like this the sickness. I like the
Conceptual
concrete. Yeah,
dyslexia.
conceptual dyslexia. Because okay, so you're sick.
Join
Well,
us.
but it's yeah. But I also feel that a lot of, and we talked about acting as if you're someone, but I think a lot of people are acting as if they are someone, and because the more people we speak, and and you probably as a clinical psychologist probably know that if you dig deep enough, everybody, there's something wrong with everyone, right? And they can't show it, because we need to kind of we go through life, we need to be part of a system, we have to deal with this system. So if you have like me, when I was a kid with dyslexia, I couldn't handle the system that was provided to me at school. I found it really difficult. So that became dyslexia in that sense became a superpower, because I became someone who was very comfortable not getting kind of in the system and not understanding the system and having to find my own way. And that became something, now really important, because of now I'm an outsider. I'm a creative. I'm a change maker. I'm a fire starter, whatever label they want to put on me, but I'm just really comfortable not fitting in.
Yeah.
Right. So that should be the same for you in that sense, that you're like, totally comfortable not fitting in. It's fine.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. And
was that quote by Oscar Wilde? When everyone agrees with me, I get this strange feeling that I'm wrong.
Exactly. Well, yeah. I always say, when you're in a room of people and they have to decide on something and everyone agrees, then I always, as a sort of creative facilitator, I say, something's wrong.
Oh, you're one of those.
Yeah, there's no way. There's no way people can agree on everything. This it's just that then they're just lying to you,
Yeah.
right? So how do you see that? Is there something? I mean, did things change in business, in society, in the way because I feel that the world kind of changed in my favor often because dealing with ambiguity and chaos, to me that's second nature. That's fine, but a lot of people are not. Do you feel that there's something changed over time?
I mean, definitely, I certainly feel like this constant flux, and I think that maybe I mean, I guess the change has always been there, but the last, at least in my last 20, 30 years, it seems like it's accelerating.
Yeah.
Like so if you introduce them like a management concept, you know, or like design thinking. How long was design thinking cool? It's probably for like 15 years,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah.
And so that concept kind of has a life
Cycle?
of
Oh.
life, yeah, thanks, life cycle of about, let's just say 15 years. If you look if you look backwards in history, you would see that the last cool thing had a life cycle of probably 30 years.
Hmm.
Right.
So you could actually dedicate your entire life to studying whatever the cool thing is at the time.
Mhm.
But today you have to change. I mean, in my little innovation bubble, it seems like it's almost every 2 years. Oh,
Mhm.
you're still doing psychological safety. Yeah, because it's cool. Mm-mm. Like like
Yeah.
I was just doing. I just wrote an article about failure, like the state of failure, because of that's my thing with the Museum of Failure. And I was writing this article, like what's the state of failure? I'm just playing with the idea, like 2025. And I started looking around and it's like, yeah, so 7 years ago, failure and talking about failure, the Museum of Failure, mine, fuck up
Hmm.
nights, failure.
Yeah.
There was a lot of momentum. It was like it was like exciting and fun, right? And me as a speaker and the museum, at any conference or any event, I was like the coolest guy in the building. I'm
You didn't even need your
exaggerating.
soap.
No,
Yeah.
exactly. But what's happened, like even like in my little bubble, this failure, like it peaked. It's a concept like everything else. Like it was cool 2019, but now it's like, yeah, it's important. But look at that thing over there,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's and it
Yeah.
and it happens so fast. So and it's super interesting to see that changes so fast. It's almost like TikTok, uh,
Hmm.
sort of exemplifies because things. It used to be like a trend or something, with television before everyone had internet. Things could live a long time. Madonna, the singer. I mean, Madonna, she was big for what? 30 years? 40
Mm.
years? Like today, if you're a musician, however big you're hot for like 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like unless you do a porn video, that's it. Right?
Yeah.
Cling to
So
relevance.
so it's quite interesting to see like how our attention, tying in a little bit with previous discussion, but how our collective attention is getting,
Mhm.
even us super smart professionals, our attention is
Hmm.
we just don't have it.
But if you do you think it's so with with design thinking and sort of I think it's even shorter than 15 years. It all of a sudden it wasn't
Yeah.
interesting anymore.
No.
But isn't it also, and that's different with I think with musicians and kind of that 50 minutes of fame
Yeah.
idea. But do you think it's also language, like the language? Because I feel that the idea, sort of the underlying need for what design thinking was trying to kind of fix, if you will, that underlying thing is still
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
But we are changing language all the time because we got somehow we kind of either we get bored with the language or
Yeah.
or people started to own the language and
Yeah.
kind of create something out of it that is not, so language because language creates our kind of
Totally.
our reality, right? So isn't it sort of you're still going on and you're still doing the thing you need to do, but you have to shift the way you talk about it.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, nothing is new under the sun.
Yeah.
In many ways, that's true. And we just need new labels on it and new theories and new approaches. And that's what keeps everything going. I mean, I recognize that, but there's also, it's either dive in and be part of that sort of ADHD like, okay, so screw design thinking. That's not hot anymore. Now this is hot, and I'm going to focus. I'm going to be a guru. I'm going to be the thought leader in this new whatever domain, and that's what everyone is doing. And the question is, are you going to be like, no, I've invested 15 years in this thing, and I'm going to die on this hill, right? Or do you change? And it's not an easy choice because
it's your business. It's your livelihood. It is.
Yeah, but
it's personality. It's
totally
right. So now, I mean, you saw that with AI. The like the day ChatGPT was launched, all of a sudden LinkedIn was full of AI experts.
It's still full of it.
We were like, where did they
left?
Where did they all come from? All
yeah.
of a sudden?
Well, the crypto bros.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
well,
and the people who are all about the metaverse
and the NFT people.
And that whole they quickly like, oh, that's not interesting. Okay, I'm an AI expert.
Yeah.
So talk about, pretending to be a person, which in a way, so you'll fake it till you make it. And there's a truth to it. I mean, there's a reality that there's a truth to it. It's not just like, that's how we survive. That's how we, and if you have been a crypto guy, you have to kind of, you win all the way with NFTs and all, it probably also means you learn a lot, about what didn't work. Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. Of course, hopefully. But I mean, you could, because if you're smart enough, you go like, well, actually I made a mistake, or actually, yeah, but so it doesn't mean you don't have any value. It doesn't mean what you're saying is not true.
No.
But it is sort of this agility, this kind of way of, exactly to your point, am I going to die on this hill? Right. So for me, design thinking was that was my thing. I became, my Twitter handle was design thinkers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so I was Mr. Design Thinkers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because at the time you didn't use your own name. And so I was that Mr. Design Thinkers. And then I was like, I actually don't think this, what am I going to do? Because I want to get out of this.
Yeah.
So are you going to die on that hill? Or to your point, are you going to say, yeah, I'm just going to, jump into this new thing.
Exactly.
Now I'm all about agile development. Or,
exactly.
And now, which also just died.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. You can't, like, you almost, in order to not be late to the party, you almost have to make up your own shit.
Exactly.
And I'm thinking, when we first started talking about this, you said you feel like the life cycle is getting shorter, and there's science behind it, but I can't remember the name or anything.
Wait a second, you also have conceptual dyslexia.
I think I might.
There is something wrong.
I'll put you on the waiting list.
Please, yes, for your soonest diagnostic.
We have to do a few more tests. But
the rate of innovation over the last years, you have the industrial revolutions, and so things change, right? And so there's the people listening to the podcast can't see my hands, but it's this kind of slow ramp. Ramp
like
up.
An
but
exponential curve. Yeah.
And so this exponential curve that you mentioned has really, really blasted off in the last 10 years for sure. But it's only going to get steeper. And so, we think about these people throwing themselves into trends, or, like being the curmudgeon on a hill, I'm going to die here. But also, is there any value to be had for kind of being a rock in the river, so to say?
Is there a value? I mean, I think there is value in having those rocks, but I'm not sure I want to be the rock. Like,
Yeah.
Because no one. There's a quote by a Finnish composer. He's like, nobody makes or nobody raises a statue for a critic.
Mm.
And if you're that old rock saying, no, I'm not, I'm critical to the new. I mean, I feel it definitely in many aspects
Hmm.
of all the projects I'm working on. But I also know that being the naysayer, being the one who's saying, no, well, you know, I'm the
Sure.
rock in the river, stone in the river here.
Well,
That
maybe, yeah,
yeah, but I mean, it's a very ungrateful role to have, and I don't know if I want to spend my energy being that
sure.
person.
And I
I
guess
can
I
see the
meant, yeah,
value, but
sure. And I
yeah.
guess maybe for Rock in the River, I didn't mean someone who is, though I see now my analogy is exactly how I didn't intend for
You've
it to
got one
be.
more. You've passed one more test now.
Yeah, yeah. Keep going.
Keep
Keep going.
going. Keep talking. You're Morgan. You're doing good.
But the rock in the river is not so much the value that I wonder. It's not necessarily so much in resisting the new, but rather that it's like a place of stability. That, like, okay, yeah, these people have been throwing themselves into the turbulence of
Mm,
these new trends, but this person has been here in this spot
mm,
for ages. And
mm.
what is the hills worth staying
Yeah.
on? And like you said, what is then, okay, let's just go start your new thing. Because if you start your new thing, you can never be behind,
Yeah.
which is a very good
Yeah, but
Yeah,
concept.
aren't you that? I mean, if you think about it, so to me, when I, how I would translate that, Morgan, for what I'm doing,
Hmm.
I'm started to focus more and more on these underlying skills you need as a person to use all these templates and processes and all these that stuff. So basic human skills that haven't changed
and
uh,
won't change.
and
Yeah.
will not change, and things like, and these can be things like, for instance, creative thinking. We need to be
Hmm.
creative. We always had to be creative. We are creative beings. But also things like critical thinking. That's something we will always need more and more. Is
And we're going to
or
have less and
stories.
less of, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
or exactly, or storytelling. Well, I was
Hmm.
just reading this little thing on posted by this AI expert, who says, no, I don't know,
Former
but no, it
crypto
wasn't.
bro.
Yeah, yeah, correct, crypto bro. Yeah, no, it was just a little post about a research that was done about critical thinking. That the people, when they started using ChatGPT and stuff like that, they stopped thinking critically.
Mm,
Yeah.
So
totally.
wow, and so that rock in the river for me is, these basic human
Mm,
skills that
Hmm.
makes us people and persons and humans. And I think so that could be something,
Yeah.
stable that we will always need.
Yeah. And I'm very curious what those things are. I heard a good analogy that, of course, as more AI things, we will lose our critical thinking ability. And they said, it's the difference. Before we had to understand all the streets and how to get from A to B, and then GPS came along.
mm,
And some people got so reliant on
mm,
GPS that they couldn't even navigate their own city.
mm,
And but then also you have the self-driving cars now. And so there's these different levels and thresholds because we probably will get to the point where we just jump into the back of a car, type in where we want to go, and we don't even have to think about using the
mm,
GPS.
mm.
It just does it all for us. And so thinking what those, like the critical thinking and the storytelling, what will those be? Because I think each person has to also decide for themselves a bit. But I'm super curious. Yeah.
I mean, these basic human skills are transferable to new technology. So I mean, that's why they don't have to be something. I mean, empathy is a big part of design thinking, and saying, okay, so like let's just take empathy. That's a skill, or I guess you could say a process or a skill that you can train, and that's something that would be beneficial regardless of what technology,
Exactly.
post AI technology you're using. Like, so,
Right.
and those things often get completely neglected in this sort of forever intensive sort of hunt for the new and the exciting and the profitable that often gets sort of missed along the way. So those kind of things, I mean, I could be wrong because I mean, some recent conversations led me to believe that my peers are using AI also for emotional support and emotional, like sort of the stuff that is like the bread and butter of psychology, clinical psychologists, that they're using various forms of AI for that as well. And then that makes me go, maybe I need to question all of that. Maybe
What do you mean by that? Because all I can remember is the movie Her, how he has the, are you familiar
yeah,
with that film?
but the interesting thing about those who have been sort of di completely immersed in AI, and not just ChatGPT, even if that's the biggest one, but completely immersed in it and made it integrated in their sort of professional lives.
Hmm.
Many of those have obviously then taken that and integrated in their personal lives as well.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
I have a friend who he's created his own program, his own sort of, yeah, I guess you'd say something like an app, so he can chat with hundreds of women on a dating app. So I mean, no, but I mean, but think about it. It's not that strange because of the statistics, but he's using that for something that is important in his life. He wants a
Yeah.
full relationship, but it's difficult because every chat with a new potential partner takes time and effort. He just doesn't have that.
Yeah,
And it's low energy, low commitment on both parts.
definitely.
And so he just lets the robot take care of the dirty
That's
work.
incredible.
What if
Yeah,
they
and
use a robot?
that's
Then
what I'm saying. This is what's so strange. Like, I mean, I mean,
Remember when we talked about this?
yeah,
yeah,
but
the robots fell in love.
yeah,
You know,
but
they're
then,
like, I
but the
like you
thing
very much.
is, like, the mind fuck here is, like, on the one hand, you can say, hey, but that's not right. You're human
Hmm,
and you have to, but on the other hand, he's doing it completely right.
sure, sure.
So there is no correct answer here in like what it in a purely functional sense. It makes perfect sense. Um,
Yeah, so I mean,
but
so I just mentioned that book, which is the last book I read. That's why it's the most important one. Which is called You. Is the only book I remember.
yeah,
It's I just because I just finished it. But he talks about awareness and this idea of AI getting sort of being, can consciousness. It
yeah.
says,
Hmm.
can technology become conscious? And he doesn't think so because it's made from dead stuff basically, and it's not made
Mm.
from living soft,
Mm,
wet
yeah.
ware. It's hardware, and so he doesn't think so. And this is something that I think all of us probably have experienced at one point, is that we will kind of project emotions and human emotions onto stuff. So like, so I mean, even a smart lawnmower, for instance, people
Hmm.
will, I have friends, they have one of those and they give it a name, and
Yeah.
and it doesn't, and it finds it difficult to get into the dog, and they go like, oh, look at it struggling to get into the so there's we do that. So if you have a robot, or something that, and I don't think it should look like a human because then it's creepy, but if it's sort of like okay to look at, you will, remember the tests, I think Boston Robotics, I think that was the
Mm,
company.
mm,
They had these videos that went viral where you saw a robot pick up a box or something like
mm,
that, and
mm,
they kicked the box out of its
mm,
hand,
mm,
and it tried to open a door and it kicked the door closed,
mm,
and
mm.
people are like, oh, you
Ah,
shouldn't do that, and they kicked the robot to show
yeah,
that it would kind
yeah,
of balance itself,
yeah, yeah,
and we would feel sorry for the
yeah, yeah,
robot,
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So I think we are dumb enough to kind of, so even though they don't really experience things the way we experience, even they don't have consciousness, we will put it on them.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally, totally.
So
Yeah.
then it will work, right? Then it will work. I mean, I just created an app that is just as a test. I call it a root cause analysis app.
Mm,
Basically, I didn't program it. AI program that for me
Yeah.
because this is a thing
Yeah.
that can do it. I just said I
Yeah.
don't want to have as critical. I want to have this app that is root cause, and I just want to. It just should ask me questions around. Okay, what did you choose, or what was your decision, or what was the event, and then it says why did that happen, or why did you make that choice?
Yeah.
Because of that, why did you do that?
Yeah.
Why did you do that? Why was
Yeah.
that important? Why?
It's keep
And
on.
but it helps me go like, all right, yeah, okay, yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, okay, I think it, and then it gives me a little story of what I just said.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in a way, it's like, wow, because it helps me think deeper
It helps
about
you structure your thoughts. Yeah.
yeah, it just structures
Yeah.
my thoughts. And in a way, a psychologist, in a way, basically does similar things. It goes like,
But
why
we
did you
we charge you much more money
yeah,
for it.
yeah, exactly. See, so there it is. But I mean, is it because is that a sort of a threat, or is that something you're worried about, or is that what? How do you see that evolve? If that's the right word for it.
I'm not, I mean, I'm a change junkie, so I
Mm,
want to see what happens. So, I mean, if we've already seen the changes in the way we think and relate to the world based on not just a continual, constant access to all the world's information. That's one. The constant the social media layer on top of that of having massive networks that are humanly unnatural to us. And thousands of other phenomena like that have already shown how technology forms and changes our society. And of course, AI is going to do the same or more. One thing I'm interested in, of the thousands of of interesting sort of changes that are occurring now and will just accelerate, is how we are outsourcing our thinking to AI.
Yeah.
Like your example, Arne, about you could have done that yourself. Why? And then you use AI as support for that to help you think. That sounds great, but there's a limit also where at what point are we outsourcing all of our thinking to
Mhm.
to AI? On the one hand, why not? It's progression. I mean, we don't carry paper maps with us any longer either. And what's is there actually a danger there or not? Or on the other hand, like, yeah, there will be a bunch of zombies.
Mm.
Or what? Or we'll just outsource thinking to AI so that we can be emotional. But we've already seen in the past 1,000 years that our emotions are mostly a cause of pain for us. So like I
Historically,
can look like
yes.
we're fucked no matter what.
Well, all right. Well, thank you very much for
Yeah.
this
Anyway,
interview.
it's a nice interview. We'll end it right here.
I think I might be going out on a limb here, but I think what's going to happen is AI is going to become incredibly, crazily advanced, but it's still going to be missing the human element, right? And as humans, we're going to be striving more for efficiency, for having more knowledge, for doing things more easily. I think there's going to be a union where humans can decide to become a host to an AI, and that's the point of no return. That's when it's really gone. That's my
What do you
my
mean to become a
prediction.
host to AI?
That
You mean like
people can either like get a chip or an
yeah?
implant or
Yeah.
you could be cyborgs. Is that the right word?
Sure. But aren't we all already a little bit? I mean, with
We're
although it's
all
an external,
completely.
this is an external implant. My phone is an
Yeah.
Yeah.
external implant,
It's more implanted into your head than any chip could be.
right? Because it holds so much of my information that I can't remember my own phone number, maybe. But I used to remember all the phone numbers of my friends and my
Exactly.
family. I have no clue. There's
Yeah.
so much here I can and your brain is lazy because your brain is taking up so much energy. So every time it can kind of skip something,
Yeah.
this is why ChatGPT makes us lazy, because it goes like, here you go, here's an answer.
Mm.
And you're like, oh, fine, thank you. And your brain says, well, I don't have
Your
to.
brain is like, yeah, give it to me. It's just like just like food. Like you're supposed to eat the food that's got fiber, and you have to chew it and cook it and everything, and that's the good food for you. You're not supposed to eat the ultra processed shit, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But your brain
that
is
takes
like,
effort.
give me that burger. Like,
Yeah. Well, yeah. Because it's easier.
Yeah.
It's easier. It has
So,
less resistance.
can I make a prediction as well?
Yes,
No,
please.
let me think. It's like,
Please.
well, all
Morgan got
right.
to make a prediction.
Yeah, but
I
you
should
know,
also.
more.
I should
Okay.
also. Just because you own the podcast doesn't mean
Yeah.
you.
Well, well, I don't know. Okay then.
Okay. Okay. So I just thought of it now. So it's a very unrefined prediction.
The best kind.
So you know how like our entire sort of history, we want to make things easier, more efficient. Like, oh, so we don't want, if I take the analogy with the cooking, right?
Mhm.
So okay, we don't want to cook. So now any industrial society, most of the food is prepared and processed, and we see this as progress, right? And we don't, there's many aspects of our lives that we want to make it easier and more efficient so we can do other things, which then turns out to be watching Netflix or something. So and AI, same thing there. We make more efficient processes in our work lives or in our communication. And then like how this was somewhere around COVID, maybe, how like baking sourdough bread became a thing, like,
Mhm.
and the doing like fermenting vegetables and stuff like sort of becomes a thing. It's now not a thing anymore. Again, to our short attention spans. But my prediction is that this, in the same way as doing things the hard way, the old-fashioned way, becomes a luxury, something you can do when you have time and energy to do it. Maybe in the future, thinking and feeling and writing will be a
Ooh.
luxury sort of activity that only the elite, money-wise or culture, are
Oh.
allowed or allow themselves to do. Because I wouldn't be surprised if like all this thinking that we outsource and this mental work that we outsource to AI and will do more of, that's also part of what makes us human. Our flawed, imperfect thoughts, our
Mm.
conflating emotions and getting, irrational behavior and thoughts. And there's something about that. If everyone else is just is on zombie mode
Mhm.
and efficiency, then it's going to be like I can become a guru in thinking slow or something. That's already taken, but
Yeah, exactly. No, that URL is taken. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, true.
Analogthinking.com.
Analog thinking, yes. Wow. That is
Ooh,
interesting, actually.
that's very
Well,
interesting.
yeah. I mean, there
You
will
don't have
always.
to like my prediction, and I have been wrong in 99% of the time. So
Yeah, well, you own the Museum of Failure, so yeah. So the elite will always be there. There will always be an elite, right?
yeah,
Because not everyone wants to be an elite. So you don't which is also part of the way we build our tribes, if you will, right? That's
Mhm,
just how
mhm.
we do things.
Animal Kingdom also,
But
yeah.
but I think I have to kind of think about, so doing some work and I'm writing some stuff together with Christina Anderson from Finland, and I met her a long time ago when I asked her to speak at a conference I organized, and she was someone talking about, this is like pre-ChatGPT and all that, but still, also she's interested in quantum computing and that stuff, because that's going to change. That's even
yeah,
that we can't
no,
comprehend what that's going to do.
mm,
So, but she said, we have to become better people,
mm,
right? So we can't create better technology, but we have to become better people.
yeah,
So
yeah,
then we can create better technology, and technology should free us,
yeah,
from the mundane and the repetitive things, so we
yeah,
can spend more time on things that are really valuable. So, like in healthcare,
yeah.
nurses will have more time to really spend time with patients. To be,
Mhm.
But that's bullshit.
tell me.
Capitalism
It's
ruins
called
it, you mean?
bullshit. We'll fire half the nurses.
Yeah.
I know, but exactly. So because that for sure, I mean, for sure, we do that, of course, because it's about money and it's about cost saving, et cetera, et cetera. For sure, that's true. So you're right, which means that we have to think about the economy,
Mhm.
right? When we really want to make a change, we need to change the economy, which is also just a concept and
Yeah,
constructs we
exactly.
just came up with. I mean, right? So
Exactly.
how do we start, how do how do we fix that, Samuel?
I think that's another podcast,
Yeah,
an entirely other new podcast.
exactly. Yeah, but I want to kind of do I kind of so we're not going to solve it here, and you're right. That's a different podcast, and still, I think that people like you, because when I mentioned the economy and it's a construct, and you go like, yes, because that concept of the economy and the concept of human behavior and the concept of AI and what you were talking about, you see these concepts and you can blend them. You go like, yeah, but here, if we have to redesign that and change that, and instead of just being like, I only know the economy,
Yeah.
and you're blindfolded basically, or you're kind of so, or you have this tunnel vision. We probably need more people who are kind of in that space in between,
Yeah,
and
totally.
and right, and so we need to kind of create spaces or education or training, and it starts at school, obviously, for people to go, wait a minute, it's not about being an expert, but it's actually about being a non-expert, a generalist, if you will. What do
Yeah,
you think?
I mean, two thoughts to that. I mean, the one thing that I've been thinking, I'm not even close to solving it in my own head even, but it's this idea like the economy. It's a very fuzzy concept, but we are all slaves to it. Like it doesn't matter if you're poor or you're rich, you're still a slave to the economy, and it's quite interesting to see when. So you know the son, I can't say the story about the little prince.
Mm-hmm.
You know the yeah
Yes.
yeah. So when he's traveling around to the different planets, he comes to one planet and there's a man on this planet who sits at a big desk and he counts everything. Like he's counting everything that he owns that's on the planet and that he owns. He spends it, he doesn't even acknowledge that the little prince is visiting. He ignores him. He's obsessed with counting the things that he owns. Like, and I think about that a lot because I I can't help but think that the economy and our focus on economic measurements or maybe because it's so easy to measure. Like it's so easy to count money in any way you want to count it. It's so easy as an indicator of anything, a proxy indicator of everything else, that it's not the best indicator of quality of life in any way. And the average American is the richest, next richest, the median American is the next richest person or in the world. Yet that same person is distraught economically and financially. And people in Spain, the average salary is 1,200 euros a month. And I'm not saying they're all happy about it, but there's a huge discrepancy there in money. And arguably, the Spanish person, I'm not sugarcoating the difficulties in Spain, but there's something interesting going on about the amount of money and disposable income, not just gross income, and a person's quality of life.
Yeah.
And it's something that it's a mind fuck because even if you understand it, we still can't change our behavior around it because money is always the most important construct because you can measure it. It's really difficult to measure. It's easy to say that Elon Musk is the richest person in the world because you can write the numbers on there, but he's also a miserable fuck. Like his
Yeah.
children hate him. I mean, those we talk about being a better human. Like those parameters are much more difficult to measure because we just have words on there.
Mhm.
If we could measure being a miserable fuck of a human being, right? If we could quantify that, it would be quite interesting. Oh, so you have this many billions, but you're also a zero or whatever. You have the other measurement. It would make things a little bit more even like maybe the people with the Spanish person with a comparatively low salary, it is actually doing quite well and doesn't have to worry about things.
That would be fascinating. I think it would really level the playing field or put things in perspective. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because how do they measure sort of, because, every year Finland is the happiest country on the planet.
Well, I'm married to a Finn, so.
Yeah, exactly. She's very happy.
It's not true.
All right, well, that's cleared up.
Okay,
All
well,
right.
I was supposed to send you an email to say correct things, right?
If you need an edit, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this the one we have to pick out? All right, okay. Okay, okay, next topic.
Yeah, but the World Happiness Index it's a misguided metric because they're not actually measuring happiness. They're measuring what they think, like education, access to healthcare. It should be called something else, like standard of living,
Right.
something.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the Finns are not happy, but yeah, they're I don't think they're happy. Denmark was at the top of the list 10 years ago. And it's like, okay, those measurements are kind of stupid when it comes to happiness in general, because it's not that easy to measure.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, that was my thought. Because how do you measure happiness? Because the way we experience things personally, individually, I mean, it's so different. And happiness can be so fleeting. You can be happy one day, and the next day
you're happy in the
miserable.
morning, and then you can do a podcast and be unhappy.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, what's it all about anyway? No, but it's true. So, right. So it is interesting how money. I mean, we are slaves to it. We, and especially nowadays with this, it is such a weird idea that there are so many people who own so much, or the coin collectors. And we're really good at that. You have all the coins basically, and then there's people who have no coins, and you're not sharing because even if you do, I mean, with just a little percentage of Elon Musk's wealth, he could solve poverty in the US.
Yeah, very. I mean,
which is like crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But and he doesn't. Okay, and he won't do it.
Not even interested. Not even. I thought I read something last week about Warren Buffett. You know Warren Buffett,
billionaire. Yeah, sure. Yeah, good coin collector. Yeah.
Good coin collector.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's 90 something, 95, whatever. He's old, right? And so the article was about how he has now changed his mind. He's not going to give all his money to Bill Gates Foundation.
Okay.
Because Bill Gates is in trouble with Epstein and all that stuff.
Right? Yeah.
And hey, fair enough. Sure. Cool. I mean, it's his money, whatever. But the interesting thing was, he's like, yeah, so he's 95. He knows his time is ending. And he says, yeah, he's gonna, instead of giving the money to cure malaria and this and this and this, he's gonna take all his billions and billions of dollars and split it and let, he says like this, I'm gonna give my wealth to my children and let them deal with it.
Oh.
His children are in their late 60s and early 70s, right? So it's giving they're already rich. The children are already super wealthy. So he's going to give these three people all the wealth, right? And let them deal with whatever if they want to give it to charity or buy popcorn for it, it doesn't matter. And it got me thinking, when you said a coin collector, it got me thinking, like, so we have these people who are extremely wealthy, so they're good at getting money, but they're absolutely terrible about spending the money.
Yes.
That's why they're so wealthy.
Exactly. That's why I have no money.
Me too. Same here. Well, and there's another thing. So there are sort of as an entrepreneur, so I have, friends who are also entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
And I always seen like there's two kinds of entrepreneurs. And I know that the world is, a lot of, there are a lot of gray tones as well, but there are two kinds of entrepreneurs. There's people who are really smart at making money. So I have a friend of mine, he's amazing at making money. So he kind of felt that, years ago that people were going to buy solar panels for their houses. So he got into the business of solar panels. So he made a lot of money out of that. He still does. He has no solar panels, by the way. And he drives this Range Rover diesel and whatever. So right. So because he is not really interested in the content of it, or
Yeah.
he's not following his heart, his passion is like,
But he's good at making money.
yeah, he's really good. He saw that gap in the market, and I know some other people like that. They see gap, and this other friend of mine at the beginning of like the end of the 90s, he knew that there was a big IT thing coming up, and so he knew. So he made money out of that. He didn't care about IT at all. He just knew companies were going to look for these people. They're fine. And he knew how to make money out of that. He also, as a student already, he had he started renting or buying houses, developing little, turn them into apartments and started renting those apartments and selling one of them and then buying another house. And, like he doesn't care about houses. He's not like, so, right. So I'm like, how do you start doing that? And then there's these entrepreneurs, which I think I am. And those are people who are, they have a interest in the content of it, and they have a belief, and they have this passion, and usually they're more creatives, right? And no, obviously, it doesn't mean they're going to be poor. They don't all have to be, but it's going to be harder for them to make money because it's a different mindset, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. So I think so.
I just want to add, like, I haven't heard this in a long time, but I've heard it before, especially when I was doing a PhD in creativity. Then the question was like, oh, if you're so smart and you're so creative, why aren't you rich?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
It's I mean, from one perspective, it's a valid question. Like, society rewards creativity or innovation, at least, and being smart is supposed to be good in some way. So then it's a valid question. Like, if you meet these two criteria, why aren't you super wealthy? And I mean, your distinction there between what kind of entrepreneurial kind of answers that question.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah. I think so. Because if you follow your passion, you make different decisions.
Totally.
You're not only thinking about the best deal or the best kind of, you're like, no, I care about this. And then you can be lucky, and in a sense, because when I started Design Thinkers Group and Design Thinkers Academy, I was lucky because I didn't know that. I had no clue. I was just passionate about doing this fuzzy thing. Which I was like, hey, and I all of a sudden people wanted to buy it. I was like, really?
This is worth something.
Yeah. And to, which was actually, and I left Design Thinkers because it became very successful and became this this little factory. And this is where I got stuck, and I left because I couldn't function anymore. So again, it was like, and my, probably my ex-partners are going to be very wealthy.
Good for them.
Good for them. And I had to just do new stuff. And so, but I think it's important that you have people, different kinds of people like that. But if you work in a company, being able to kind of also know that you need both of these people. Because I need, so in my company right now, I need people who also understand structure and, are more like, have more like an engineering mindset and more linear. But I do need them also to be able to talk to me and understand how I feel and the way I kind of do things. So, which is really difficult because we don't educate kids like that. We don't, if you come from an MBA, I mean, you can't even talk to people like us. Because after 5 minutes, they go like, what is he talking about? Huh?
Yeah, it's like, why are you talking about this? It's so uninteresting. Like, why are you talking about these kind of dimensions? They're not.
I think the solution for this is giving everyone a parent with ADHD, because then they will be forced to decipher all the fuzziness.
Yeah. Well, I think it starts with education.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it starts with being a child, but I think also, and I think someone, I don't know who that was, but someone talked about teaching at an MBA. I think it was Harvard or so. And then you see all these kids, and they all look like these kind of, these business people, basically. But if you dig deep enough, all of a sudden, you have a really diverse group of people there, and they're all broken as well, which
I
is
mean,
a good
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
That's
it's
how the light gets
humanizing.
in, right?
Yeah, it's
That's
humanizing for sure.
exactly. So, last question. What are you looking forward to? What are the things that you're doing now? And we haven't talked about museum failure and all the other cool stuff that you're doing.
There's so many cool
But
things.
yeah, there are too many cool things, so we
What am I
skipped it.
looking for?
And so, what are what's the thing that you go like, this is.
I'm looking, so I can give you a concrete thing,
Mhm.
like small one that's just kind of fun and I'm looking forward to, and I can give you a larger sort of one as well. So I'm really excited. So I get a lot of visitors to the Museum of Failure website, like,
Yeah.
but up until a couple of days ago, I didn't have a web shop. Like all these visitors, but I don't get any money for it. So it's been on everyone's saying, oh, you have to have a web shop, you have to have a web shop. And I'm like, I hate selling shit, uh, but I'm like, I'll put up a web shop and sell some t-shirts and stuff like that. But, I don't think that's the most, they're interesting t-shirts and stuff, but they're not that interesting. It's a t-shirt, right? So then I'm like, the only way I'm going to do a web shop is if I can create my own products, develop crazy products. And so I'm super excited about this one right here. This is a perfume.
Can you describe it, what we're looking at?
Yeah, so this is a small bottle of perfume called Failure Number 5. I have a second perfume that's called Smells Like Failure.
Incredible.
So yeah, so I've taken perfume making classes. I've bought so many perfume bottles and chemicals and stuff. So I've made two different perfumes with.
Can I ask out of curiosity, what are some of the main notes in failure number 5?
Failure number. So both of them have some similar characteristics. So one is, for example, the smell of like ash, wet cardboard, like a hint that project's gone wrong and forgotten. They have the Smells Like Failure has a note of like salt brine, like the tears of pain, failure, and not being successful.
Awesome.
They also have a sort of a floral scent in the beginning that promises more than it can deliver. I've been working on this for like 2 months now, and it's the most fun project I've had in a long time. It's probably gonna be a complete profit. I'm probably just gonna lose a bunch of money on it. But it's been so much fun, like making a perfume and thinking about how to what's the fragrance profile, and then experimenting. I feel like I've gotten that, when you're in a super creative project, you get like this surge, like you're almost high. I haven't felt that for several years now. I've been doing stuff, but they're like, but they're not like super exciting. And this has been amazingly fun to
Holy,
this is so cool.
Yeah, so I'm launching it. It'll be ready in about a month to
ship, because it's already on your website.
Yeah, it's on the website, but it's not ready to ship yet.
Okay. Exciting. You're gonna.
It's super exciting to see what happens.
A drop. It's called a drop.
Yeah, it's called a drop. I'm expecting the entire world to go, oh, do you have the latest Museum of Failure fragrance?
Yeah, I can smell you.
You smell like failure.
Ooh, success.
Is that the latest? Yeah, it's like
success is so boring.
That's a good poster too, by the way. Yeah, I love those. I love the posters too.
And my mind is going so many different places, right? Like sending your friend who just failed something this bottle in the mail. First off, or wearing one of these on a first date. Like the possibilities are endless. This is fantastic.
I love it. I love the posters. The posters are, by the way, the posters are really cool. So
They're really cool.
I
It's
like the mistake it till you make it. It's really,
Very
really
cool. I'm working with this super hot shot top dog German designer who's done all those
Yeah,
designs but
they're
it's
awesome.
cool. And in a general sense, what I'm looking forward to is I have this there's this quote by Karl Lagerfeld, of all people, that has stuck with me for a couple of years now. And it was on a postcard I saw, and it said, the important thing is not to have done things. The important thing is to keep doing things.
Mm.
And so I've been doing interesting projects for 20 years. Some of them crazy successful, some, and some of them failures. And it's easy to be like, no, I've done that. I'm cool. I don't have to prove anything. I'm pretty cool. Like, but then that also is like, no, I think Lagerfeld is right. Like, it's not about saying what did you do in the pre-internet or pre-COVID? What did you do when you were 30 or last year? It's about what you're doing right now. And it's an important reminder to keep doing things. And so I'm excited about, I have this idea that I want to create. I want to create a product. You can see how it's not formulated. It's still very fuzzy. I want to create a physical product, like some kind of physical product. And I want to have absolutely zero social media presence. I mean zero.
Mm.
And I want to see the challenge is if I can create a product without any social media presence and get it out there. I don't mind if other people talk about it, obviously, but I just want to see if that's possible. Like if it's even conceivable to launch a product in 2025 without doing, which like today the must do when it comes to us, the extended social media landscape. It's quite fuzzy, but the challenge is, can you sell something?
Yeah.
And hopefully make a little bit of profit, but can you sell something without doing everything the way you have to do it right now, today?
Interesting.
Huh. Yeah, because you're so programmed, right?
Yeah, you think automatically. You think if you're going to launch a product or a service or something, you automatically think like, how am I going to present this on LinkedIn, or how am I going to do this on Instagram? And everyone is thinking the same thing. And it's like, is it even possible to do it without having that presence? Like, I'm curious about the answer. I don't know if I'm the right person to do it, but I'm really curious to see if it's possible.
Yeah. Well, it makes me think of, and that's probably, again, I lead directly to how do you get it on social media? Because, but by other people, which is
yeah. That's okay. That's
okay. It's a little bit. It does feel a little bit like cheating. But you have those nowadays. You have all these videos that are, most of them are totally fake, by the way. But you have this musician, they're on the street, and then all of a sudden, this famous person walks by, and they go like, "Hey, you're playing my song. Can I sing with you?" My God, it's like this famous. He's singing the song, and there's multiple camera angles, and then the comments are like, "Wow, this is so amazing!" It's like something like that. Will get you on social media, and people will go. So if you do that for real, not fake, but for real, you're in the center of Barcelona or somewhere, and you do something where people go film you. So you do something, they film you, and then it takes off or something. But it is a different way of thinking, because you have to think about, why would people do that?
Yeah, I know, exactly. But it's a little bit different, because it's the thought of, okay, what should I do to create content is what everybody's doing. And it's an interesting thought experiment to say, what can I do that is so interesting that it's other people's content? Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which makes them look cool and good and interesting. And so because they got that content, that's basically what they do, right? So you go like, I saw this really famous person. It's like, wow, such a how did it possibly happen? And I have it on my account. Yeah, so that's really interesting. Looking forward to that concept. And
We will
yeah,
not see it on social
but
media.
we'll never know. So,
You'll never know. Yes, exactly. And because I'm not connected, I don't care.
yeah, exactly. You don't know that we don't know. So who knows? You have no clue what's going on because you're not there. That's
I do
it's
expect,
like a
I
non-product.
do expect both of you to buy perfume.
I will definitely do
But
that.
Yes.
wait till it's actually available.
Yeah, I was already clicking on it.
No,
Going,
don't
"Shall
buy
I
it now.
purchase?"
No, don't buy it now.
All right, I will.
very
I will.
cool.
I definitely will because it's also a great present.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
not just for yourself. This is like awesome.
I live right above a boutique perfume shop, so I would love to take them one. These two very elegant, charming ladies.
Yeah. So what is this? It says, "Ew, the total fuck up." Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the irresistible scent of failure. Yeah. So okay, very cool.
I'm super curious, not that this is a great note to end the segment on, but you know how they say pheromones will attract you to someone and you don't. I'm so curious if you made a failure scent and snuck pheromones in there, what that would do to someone.
Ooh.
And then you go to networking, you get drunk, and then the
You
next
smell
morning
like
you're
wet
like,
paper.
oh boy, no.
I don't want to go there.
That's the next podcast.
Thank you, Samuel.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much for this podcast and being our guest. It was amazing.
Great chat.
Really.
Yeah.
Stimulating, fun chat. I had no idea what to expect, and it was just as well because it turned out completely different.